Well, few things can give a company or business an instant boost, like being named to Oprah's favorite things list. And our next guest knows firsthand exactly what that feels like. Jennifer Brodeur is a Montreal-based businesswoman and the CEO and founder of JB Skin Guru. She joins us this morning to share some tips on how to become a successful entrepreneur. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You have a pretty incredible story. And for some people, I think looking at your career, they think this happened overnight. But I was poking around on your Twitter feed and we were talking backstage. This overnight success was 20 years in the making.
It was. And so nothing happens overnight. Everything is a question of having that stamina for a marathon. It's not, nothing is fast. You have to work at it and work at it. Lots of failure and lots of success as well.
You're preparing for the long-term game. You're not just doing small things day to day, it's the big picture.
Always the big picture. Everything I do is I try to do with integrity, and I try to think to myself, like, will I be proud of myself in 10 years if I do this now? And so I say no to a lot of things, and then I say yes to things that make me feel good.
Someone who said a big yes to you is Miss Oprah Winfrey.
Yes.
What was the direct business impact you felt when you found out that you had been named to the list?
So when Miss Winfrey, when it was official, the biggest impact was having that stamp of approval. For me, it was like winning an Oscar. Had I not been chosen, I still would have been honored and been like, I was at least in the running, right? I was nominated. And to have that approval and what she said was so gracious. For me, it was, as a personal, I felt content.
Tell me exactly what went through your head when you got that first email.
When I got the first email, well, the first thing was I was with a client, so I had to excuse myself because I had to sign non-disclosure agreements and all that because you can't just divulge. And I had to go into Jazz's office. She's one of the close person who works with me, and I lay down on her floor in her office and I screamed. And then I said, okay, we got to get to work and we've got to make sure that my thing was I needed to make Miss Winfrey proud. I could not let her down. And then we went right back to work.
For someone who's watching at home today, hoping that they can transition from maybe a job that they don't love to doing something that gives them as much passion and light that you're talking with right now, how do they do that?
Well, I think the first thing is to figure out why you want to do what you want to do. A lot of people tell me, well, I don't like my job. Well, what don't you like about it? And make a list. Make your pros and cons and try to understand that everything is a sacrifice and nothing is balance. So anyone who tells you that life is about balance, you can strive for it, but it's impossible to achieve. So something's got to give. So you got to make a list and say, what do I want out of it and what makes me happy? But at the end of the day, you still have to pay your bills, right?
Absolutely.
So you have to be also quite analytical and smart about it as well.
You mentioned a little bit earlier the failures along the way. It's not always smooth sailing.
No.
And you said part of what you love about being your own boss is that you're responsible for those failures.
Yes.
Will you share one of them?
Yeah, well, a really big failure we had when we first started our company, my husband and I, in 2003. We had great distributorship. We were doing great. We were all over in 40 countries around the world. And our biggest distributor went bankrupt. And we lost so much money. And I remember we had to sell our conference table and everything because, you make decisions and you make choices. And I remember going to my parents' house, and my parents have been instrumental in my success. Anyways, and my dad said, I was crying, and he said, no crying. Like, you just gotta go and pick up. Sorry. And we did, and we survived, so.
You survived,
yes.
And you are telling the most successful story, and you're gonna make me
Sorry.
cry over here.
But it was, failure is important because it's what teaches you what's important. Because if you're always successful, how do you know what the good is? So when you have those lows, you realize that it's not about the money. It's not about that. It's about your family, about love, and that's what's important. So,
Jennifer, thank you so much for sharing your story. You were an inspiration to us here in studio and to the viewers at home.
Thank you.